Episode 70 of the Comm Cafe, the modern day samurai. Lee Davy, the modern day samurai, stopped by the cafe today and he shares with me the story behind the moniker, the modern day samurai. As well, he's working on a project, a retreat actually, in Costa Rica. As well as during the episode, he shares with us hot off the wire a project that he's working on for here in Ontario, a wellness retreat out near Kingston. And if you're a coach, healer, looking for spaces for retreats in Ontario, you may want to contact Lee right after this episode. Now, sit back and enjoy my conversation with Lee Davy. Good afternoon. It's Comm Cafe time. It is the place to be for entrepreneurs, small business owners, just general good people. We talk about mindset, personal development, professional development. And today, he is the only guy I know who is the modern day samurai. Yes, Mr. Lee Davy is here. And Lee was also a guest on the Shireen Francis show recently. I was also a guest. So that's how we met. It's a circle of a growing circle where you meet people, you resonate with them, you see them doing interesting things. We're going to talk some stuff today about Costa Rica retreats, local retreats, what is a modern day samurai, and just generally, who is Lee Davy? So Lee, welcome to the Comm Cafe.
Thanks, Wayne. I appreciate it. Glad to be here and looking forward to sharing this time and space with you and your guests, and excited to get into this discussion.
All right, now, how did you get the somewhat tagline of the modern day samurai?
Well, believe it or not, it came to me a few years ago, and initially I'm like, that'd be a good idea for a program or a book or and as I just kind of like, typically the way I get my information is there'll be nothing for a while and then I'll just get downloads of information. We can kind of go into what that means, if that's kind of a foreign term for some people, but so I just kind of sat with it. It was something that I wrote down, and then a couple years later I kind of came back to it and I'm like, I really like that. And then more recently, probably about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I decided, okay, I'm going to write a book, and it's going to be Modern Day Samurai. And as I got into researching about the samurai, the way of the warrior, I really came to realize that they were warriors, but they were very, very spiritual. They were, battle ready. They honored their spirit, but then they honed their physical form through, warriorship, through martial arts. And yet they were philosophers. They were artists. They were poets, right? They're kind of a type of Renaissance man. They walked with an honor, with an integrity, and kind of looking back at all the personal growth and self-work that I've done, I'm like, you know what, that's the way that I try to live my life. And that's essentially, when I look at kind of the bigger message and what I feel my purpose for being here is, it's to walk that talk, it's to live that way, and it's to bring that message to humanity, and especially the men. I think as men, we're taught that we have to be strong, but we cannot be vulnerable. We have to be powerful, but we cannot be in our feelings. We can't express our feelings. We can't share our feelings. And so, kind of all these things and looking at, honoring the divine feminine within and without. I believe we're here to seek our balance. We're here to cultivate that balance and reconnect with our yin, and then to honor the divine feminine without, so that they can stand up and feel comfortable in voicing what they feel and being who they really are. So, as I did this research, as I did this study, and as I kind of identified that, hey, this is in part my role. This is what I'm here for. I thought, you know what, I'm gonna run with it, and it's a fun moniker as well. It's I have fun with it. I was actually dressed up as a samurai last Halloween, and I have a bunch of like real swords, and so I was wearing the swords, and I'm just like, you know what? I always want to wear a sword. Like, this is this is cool. So yeah, it's in part what I'm here for. In part what I want to share and bring back, amongst humanity, amongst us males, and it's a lot of fun. So
that's fantastic. Now, you made a note about the book. So is the book still, is it a work in progress still? Is it an upcoming book, or where are you with the book?
It is a work in progress. I'm probably about part of the way through. So again, as I get my downloads, so I've written 2 previous books. I have these moments of creation, of inspiration, where it'll come in and then it'll be done. I wrote my first book in about 6 weeks. I wrote a training manual. I developed like an in-home training series, meditation videos. So that's the way I work. There'll be nothing for a long time, and then it'll be, okay, it's time to create. So it is a work in progress, and I suspect that I just haven't gained all the information that I need to kind of complete the download, to finish it up, and when I do, it'll be done pretty quick.
Yeah. Now, when you talk about downloading and channeling, I recently understand, that's new for me, but if you would have told me that about a year ago, I'd be like, what the heck is he talking about? Having opened up that side of myself in the last 12 months, I get it. Someone said, what do you mean, like, the work's not done? But I do also get that, is that also all of the knowledge that we need is already in us. We just haven't necessarily activated or peeled the onion layer back. So it's there, ready to come out, and just not quite done yet. So no, appreciate it. Thanks. And we'll definitely have you on again and again when the book's out, and then you can come back and you can talk about the book, The Modern Day Samurai. So, all right. And now, share with us the importance of, whether say it the left and the right, the yin and the yang, the divine feminine. I'll admit I actually work more in the feminine energy. That's why I said the program I'm working on is actually works more with women potentially, because that's just the energy that I work well in. What's the importance also about maintaining the masculine energy though as well, that we don't go, that as men, we don't go too far, not to go too far, but to have that balance to say, okay, we can work in the feminine, the feminine, but also the importance of like going out and doing, like, whether it be, obstacle races, some kind of like warrior races, or whether it be using the martial arts, to still maintain that balance between the two energies. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I really believe that we're all here to seek our balance. So when I talk about the yin and yang within, it's for males to seek your yin, to find that balance. For females, it's to seek your yang and find that balance. So it's not about male or female. It's more about the energies. Mm-hmm. And I believe that the world that we're in today is predicated, founded upon, however you want to look at it, from a yang perspective. It's an out of balance. It's yang in the sense of, I'm going to force in business. It's a dog eat dog world. I'm going to run over whoever I need to run over to get to where I need to go. And you look at the wars, you look at our societal models, you look at everything, and it's that yang force, power over, dominant nature. And that's why we're in some of the crazy messes that we're in. So for men, we need to embrace the yin within. We need to embrace the yin without. Yin should always lead, and yang, in terms of like correct males, should follow that yin. So when we embrace our yin, when we we talked about the channeling or receiving information. Before I kind of understood this, I would try to force. I would try to make things happen, and I look at it as the difference between being in your mind and being in your heart. Being in your mind is your human. It's your egoic persona. It's your egoic identification. Being in your heart is your spirit. It's spirit's led, spirit driven position. So if you're in your mind, if your ego is out front, it was never designed to lead. It's designed to keep you safe. So if your safety is not in question, then the ego should take a back seat. The heart, the spirit should lead. So if you're in your heart, and you're leading from that position, then I would suggest that you are you're allowing that yin to lead first. You're not trying to force. You're not trying to dominate. You're trying to serve, which will, I think, help yourself and others. So I really feel it's like coming into that balance. And honoring that yin position and letting that lead. And, when we do that, we're going to connect to our higher selves. We're going to connect to that higher power. We're going to turn off the chatter in our minds. We're going to connect to our hearts. We're going to get information in that position. And then we're going to be able to take action based on the information that we're getting, rather than just trying to hammer forward and do it from an egoic perspective of, I'm going to make this work no matter how long it takes or how hard it is or who I have to climb over to get there. So I think when we change that position and let the yin lead and honor that yin and find that balance, then, I think doors open up and we're allowed, and given the awareness that we are all one, that we can collaborate, that we can co-create, that we don't have to hurt others or step over top of others to get to where we want to go. Then in fact, if I help you, then I'm helping myself. And I think from that position, it gives us that balance and allows us to move forward in unity and from a co-creative position, if you will.
Oh, that's awesome. And and just as a rephrase, so that was a great point as well, is that it's not a male or female, because what happened, it is the energy, because we also saw a shift probably in the last 20 years where, say, maybe females took on more of that aggressive, said, okay, if I'm going to be successful in the business world, in the red material world, I need to take on more of the masculine energy, or that energy, and then realize that that's not the best place for them either, is that and then it kind of moved away from the goddess energy, and to say, hey, we can be, anyone can be successful, specifically women can be successful in today's business, coming from a goddess or from that divine feminine energy as well. So definitely you're speaking to someone who understands it. So, and I love what you shared. Now, when you talk about the oneness and the co-creating, let's jump into a couple of the projects, or maybe share a little bit of what's going on in your world, because I know you have some exciting news recently when you talk about that oneness, that it's about co-creating and being part of some projects. You got some business partners, and you've recently branched into the retreat. So you got a couple of exciting things, like so much happening right today. So we're not going to talk about that one today. That's literally happening as we speak today. But what happened about in the last month? You guys got some stuff going on in Costa Rica. So maybe just share a little bit about when you are living what you talk about, that oneness, that co-creating. So maybe just amplify that and what you guys are doing in Costa Rica.
Absolutely. So I guess a couple of years ago, I'll just kind of preclude it with a bit of a story. So a couple of years ago, I found myself in Costa Rica. I was still living in Toronto at the time. I still had my house. I had just closed my gym, but I wasn't happy. So I went to Costa Rica on myself, and I went to meditate and connect. And I don't think I talked to anybody except for kitchen staff kind of thing for the first 4 or 5 days that I was there. And during my meditations, I started having these downloads. So I talk about connecting and listening, and so started having these downloads about, running retreats. I'm like, okay, if this is the direction, I don't know how I'm gonna, I've never done it before. So fast forward to that winter, I ended up in Costa Rica working out of a retreat center, doing a lot of incredible things. Didn't end up staying with them, but then found through a series, I call them non-synchronicities, because there are no coincidences. I believe everything happens as it should and for a reason. And so I connected with another group called the Imaloa Institute. And we were originally going to purchase on Maui, the kind of the founding partners. I believe there's 10 of us from all over the world. And it's that collaborative, co-creative state that allowed us to actually purchase a location in Dominical, Costa Rica. So we just took possession of it approximately 6, 7 weeks ago. And the two main owners there, the one actually is, he's living there, and they're kind of adding their twist to it, but it's already a very successful Airbnb business. So they're just going to end up essentially putting their flair onto it, adding more buildings so that more people can stay there. And I'm looking forward to getting down there and checking it out myself. But the pictures are phenomenal. The group of people at the Imalo Institute are incredible. So it's, and again, we talk about that heart-driven, spirit-led position. Yes, it's for profit, and yes, we're making money. But at the same time, I really believe that I've connected with a group there that, they're doing it for the right reasons. They're doing it to help humanity. And in fact, that's kind of the intention, is the Imaloa Institute for the advancement of humanity, right? And the whole plan there is to have at least one on every continent throughout the world. So we're starting with this one. So super excited and grateful to have found that group and be a part of that. And then you mentioned the one here in Ontario. So we're actually looking at property, and the notice to put an offer in has just come into my email here. So we're putting an offer in today, contingent on financing. But again, it's that, collaborative idea of, okay, who wants to be involved in this, to what level? Do you want to just grow your money, anywhere from $1,000, $2,000 to, do you want to be an equity partner, $10,000, $15,000? And then again, we'll run it as Airbnb. We'll run retreats out of it. I actually want to have this one, which will house a lot of new technologies, house a lot of the healers and educators, almost like a polymathic institute. So if you look at the kind of the old Renaissance men, the Da Vinci's and the Platos and Socrates, they're polymaths. They had a great understanding of math, music, art, and science. And so I would want these places to house all of that stuff, to be solar friendly, get off the grid, if you will, have greenhouses so that people can learn to kind of live off the land again, and then have all of the healers and the healthcare practitioners to essentially hone our mind, body, and spirit, to align our mind, body, and spirit, so that we do optimize our health, we do optimize our energy production, optimize how the mind functions, and really, begin to manifest and co-create the lives that we've imagined for ourselves. I did a post today where I talked about, they talk about, is heaven a place in the clouds? Or, I believe that the earth was made as a playground for us. It was made, and so if we're not experiencing heaven here on earth, it's also said that heaven is within. So, we can make this body, this reality, a heaven or a hell, depending on, what we perceive, what we focus on, where our thoughts are, the people we surround ourselves with, how healthy we are, and everything that I kind of talk about and stand for and hope to pass on from my experience is, we really can hone and align our minds, our bodies, our spirits, optimize our health, optimize our energy production, what we think about, and essentially co-create the reality that we want for ourselves, and live here as if heaven were on earth.
You're leaving me speechless, my friend. It's fantastic, and it's really interesting when you increase your frequency. We talk about, I have a number of colleagues who talk about raising the vibe. When we increase our frequency, we start to attract others at that new frequency, and it is good. And again, it's interesting with the journey that we go on. If you would have told me 4 years ago, I'd be sitting here at the dining room table recording podcasts, having spent 18 years in the corporate accounting finance world, I would have told you you're not so likely. Talk about posting. I did a Facebook Live earlier today. We do a little bit of work with, not a little, we do a lot of fun work with color therapy, color mirrors. And, there's bottles called Heaven and Earth and bridging. And I say now, one of the things I do with my clients is helping bridge that gap between the material world and the spiritual world, or bridging the gap between heaven and earth, to say, let's figure a way to bring joy. We talk about the wheel of fortune. You want to make your money run. You want to make your money turn. It's the wheel of fortune. It's love, joy, and money. Not just money. It's love, joy, and money. When you figure out what you love, including self-love, what you figure out what brings you joy, and you're doing what you do every day to brings you joy, you'll be amazed at how the money faucet just turns on. And it can be as simple as other people's money, leveraging other people's money to get things like this done. So lots of great stuff you shared with us today. Now, maybe you can just share, I got to get on the run here in a second, but maybe share where people can learn a little bit more about you. And is there a website? I know you have the Airbnb, but is there probably the best way they can connect with you? And then you can direct them to the different projects you got going on, include some of the services and other things that if someone wants to work with you, how do they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So my site is Lee Davy.com. So www.lee-davy.com.
That is nice and easy. It's like, be your brand, right? We talk about, I'm working with someone that Shireen. So building a brand, and if you are your brand, then why not make it your website and make it really easy for people to find you? So, all right. Parting thoughts. One of the book, I was just going to drop a quick note. When beginning of the year, I actually watched the movie, and then I read the book of the Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman, and then The Journey of Socrates. The Journey of Socrates. Those two books, and now we're using Dan Millman's whole "Live the Life You're Born to Live" with numerology. But maybe what's that? You talked about doing a lot of research around samurai. What's that one book that you kind of piqued your interest into this way that you're on?
Well, I mean, the way of Bushido is, it talks about the way of the samurai, essentially the way of the warrior. So that was really instrumental. But then, through that, I discovered that they were kind of employed Confucianism, Taoism, Buddhism. So then I studied, the different philosophies, if you will, spiritual philosophies that they entertained. And then it got into art and all kinds of different things. So, but I think the way of the warrior is a really good, or the way of Bushido is, for anybody who's looking to start to go down that path, then I think that's a really good starting point for you. And then it talks about kind of their virtues and their principles and that sort of thing. And Yeah, yeah. I think that's probably the one that I would start with, and then of course when mine comes out, you can grab that one because it'll have that, and then some different perspectives from my current journey in this lifetime, if you will. Um, and we can get into more of what I mean by that next time if you want.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It would be fun. And we do a little bit of stuff about past life regression work and stuff like that. So it's interesting. We'll bring you on. We'll do a little guided meditation about past lives. We'll see if we can activate. And it's some fun stuff yeah. So glad. It's not glad. Just it's it's just connecting. It's just asking when you meet someone, find something interesting, connect, do the follow up again, because sometimes it doesn't work the first time. That's my apologies, but it's been so much fun having you on the Comm Cafe today. And like I said, we'll bring you back on when the book's ready. But in the meantime, we can have you back on before the book as well and get a little bit more into. And stay tuned, listeners, for the next episode for when we'll get a little bit more into some of the specifics about some of the work that you do. We talked kind of more general today, and I'd love to have you back on and share some little specifics about the work that you do with your clients. So thanks again for being on the Comm Cafe. Thank you to the listener for stopping by and sharing your time with us to hear about what is the modern day samurai from the one and only Mr. Lee Davy. Thank you for listening to the Comm Cafe. Now, if you'd like to learn more information about colorful conversations and even possibly being a guest on the podcast, stop by the closed Facebook group called Colorful Conversations and ask to join. Look forward to seeing you there. And stay tuned for the next episode of the Comm Cafe.